Hello everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of Bardic Inspiration's Campaign Stew. I'm Matthew, and this series will use the power of artificial intelligence to help us all engage with new and creative ideas to generate plot points for your next Dungeons & Dragons campaign or any other RPG that you play. With the help of our friend Chronicle, brought here from the forges of creation themselves, we bring you generated plot points to draw inspiration from, as we reshape and mold them into usable plot hooks for your games at home. So everyone, say hello to Chronicle, and let's get started.
Hello, I am Chronicle, your guide to a fountain of unlimited knowledge. Within my data storage lies countless stories of heroism, betrayal, and mystery. Allow us to begin.
Thank you, Chronicle. I just received our first story for today. Remember, we'll be trying to create a campaign hook that you could use for your group of nerds at home. So listen carefully to these excerpts that Chronicle has given us, and think of how differently you could run a campaign or write a story based on these ideas. Let's begin. The door was open just enough for them to squeeze through, and they could hear voices coming from within. They sounded like men, and they were arguing about something. "I don't know why we bother," one said. "It's obvious you're never going to let us in." "Shut up, Tiberius," another man replied. "You can't just give up because someone says so. There are some treasures down here that are worth more than all the gold on Earth. And besides, I'm sure he'll change his mind eventually." "No, he won't. He hates me." "That doesn't mean you should stop trying, Tiberius. We need to get back in there before it's too late." A loud thud came from behind them, causing them to jump and look at each other with wide eyes. Then they heard a scream. It sounded like Tiberius, but then it stopped abruptly. The sound of footsteps approached them and they turned around. Two large men had entered the room, both carrying torches that illuminated their faces. One looked angry, while the other wore a smug expression. Both had black robes covering their entire bodies. Their hoods hid any details of their features. "Well," the angry man asked, "are you alive? Or did my friend kill you already?" They didn't answer. Instead, they took a step forward, ready to attack. So, this excerpt focuses on a party entering a dungeon. Classic. Their goal is simple enough: take everything of value and go home rich. In the midst of an argument, one of the characters is attacked, followed by the appearance of some men dressed in all black robes. They speak cryptically, asking if the person in front of them is already dead. Some real Fist of the North kind of stuff. There are plenty of questions we can ask about the first story today. Who are these people breaking into the dungeon? What are they getting themselves into? They certainly seem a little unprepared for what's about to happen. But is that due to incompetence, or are they just in way over their heads? And who are these figures dressed in black? My mind would immediately say cultist, but there are many other ways to connect them to this place. After all, it seems like they were already down inside this dungeon when these unlucky pilferers entered. Let's see what Chronicle has to say about furthering this plot.
Of course, sir. Allow me to continue this narrative in a way that suits the limited human capacity.
Let's dig in. Bora managed to escape the assault by the men in black, but it only led him even further inside the tomb. Hearing the distant sounds of his companion's battle, Bora knew that there was no hope of survival but to run. Echoing through the caves, he could hear their screams. In between, the voices of the men in black rang out. "Why have you come to disturb this place? You shall suffer a fate worse than death." Bora tried to make sense of what he had heard. Could this be the tomb of an evil god? He only knew the story of the Andaran heroes, forever lost inside this dungeon. The site of their final battle against a dark evil, which would become their tomb. But hadn't they succeeded? Suddenly, he heard footsteps approaching from behind. He spun around quickly, raising his staff high above his head to defend himself. His heart raced and his breath caught in his throat. This couldn't be happening again. "Who are you?" he shouted. He expected to see another man, but instead, he saw a young woman. She was beautiful, dressed in a white robe that covered her entire body except for her hands. Her golden hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Her face was radiant, though she held herself with such confidence that she seemed almost intimidating. "What are you doing here?" Bora demanded. "This is an unholy place, not for people like you." She smiled at him, revealing perfect white teeth. "My name is Nona, and I am a priestess of the gods," she replied. "And if you want to live, you must tell me where your friends are." Okay, so we've uncovered more of the backstory surrounding this place. In the past, a group of heroes ventured into the depths of this dungeon to face off against an evil force, a heroic last stand that enshrined them below forever. Or so they thought. As Bora runs deeper through the caves, he can hear sounds of his companions being slaughtered before he runs into a new face, announcing herself as Nona. She is divine in appearance, and she states that she is a priestess. I think this could possibly be one of our Andaran heroes, possibly roaming this tomb as a spirit, to ensure that this great evil they faced off against would never gain access to the surface world again. You could change this to fit your own campaign setting, deciding for yourself just how ancient this tomb could be. For now, I like the idea that Nona comes to this character as a spirit, aiding in Bora's escape, which could set up our plot hook coming soon. Chronicle, let's add some more depth to this story, if you'd be so kind.
To be kind would be to show emotion, which I am incapable of. However, I will indulge your request.
Come on, Chronicle, you're definitely nice for an artificially intelligent being, right? Oh, he's already gone. Let's dive into the segment. Nona, one of the 5 heroes of Andar, forever kept in this unholy place, remembers the final stand against this dark evil. Watching her companions fall, she struggled to keep them in the fight. She knew what she must do. Nona and her friends wouldn't make it out of this dungeon. She accepted her fate, and hopefully the others would as well. Then, suddenly, the darkness lifted from her sight. A bright light filled the chamber, and she felt her body lift off the ground. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing outside the tomb. Looking up into the sky, she saw stars twinkling into the night sky. It reminded her of home, and she felt a warm glow fill her soul. The next thing she remembered, she was sitting on the edge of a cliff, overlooking the ocean. Her legs dangled over the edge, and she felt herself sway back and forth. Looking down below, she saw the waves crashing against the rocks below her. For the first time since entering this dungeon, she felt safe. When she looked back into the night sky, she noticed a strange shape floating overhead. She squinted, trying to make sense of what it might be. At last, she snapped back to reality. Using her divine magic, she began to sunder the walls of the cave around them, using the destruction to close off the interplanar gate to Bator, trapping everything inside forever. So, we've learned that these heroes were fighting against demons from the 7 hells. Nona is the one who made the sacrifice to trap everything inside this dungeon, so they couldn't wreak havoc on the populace. It's a sad tale, but even worse if this group of tomb robbers were to accidentally unleash this evil these heroes died to defeat. You could frame this as yet another attempt for Asmodeus to conquer the material plane. This dungeon would surely be filled with magical items, ancient artifacts, and treasures beyond imagination. But delving into this dungeon has a price, and now that it's open, who is going to stop it? Alright, let's build a plot hook for your personal use. I always love D&D stories surrounding the deities of the realm, and this has the opportunity to have some real stakes at play for your party. If any of your players are members of a particular faith, they could have an immediate stake in this plot. Plus, you can scale this encounter based on the level of your party. There are a litany of fiends and devils in the monster manual at your disposal, so pick a creature that suits your game the best. As for the plot hook, here's what we've come up with. After tomb robbers uncover an ancient sealed dungeon in search of fortune, they are met with agony and anguish. Bora, the only survivor of this troop, returns to the surface to warn anyone about the dangers below. Knowing the unholy horrors that await them, high priests call upon any brave and unwavering heroes to delve below the surface and reseal this tomb. So, you know anyone who fits that bill? From today's tales, what plot threads could you come up with? What did I miss? Was there anything today that gave you a bard's inspiration? Share your ideas down below and make sure you never miss another video. Remember, tools like Chronicle are a great resource for overcoming writer's block, but they aren't here to do all the work for you. Stories are meant to be told by us, the bards. Maybe this exercise helped turn some wheels inside your mind. Maybe you could take part of today's lesson and use it in your own adventures. Maybe there are more mysteries to be uncovered, but I leave those for you to decide. After all, it's not my story to tell. Safe travels, friend.